So an MIT professor was at his home and police launched a investigation. Okay. Yeah, he's not Jewish because he's Catholic. What is happening? There's two different metas. Okay. Instantly people say the is a Muslim trans Antifa activist. And then now the inverse of it is every victim of a is also Jewish. I'll talk about the MIT nuclear scientist that got potentially. It does seem very suspicious. The reason why I think it's also an interesting story is because instantly a lot of the OSINT community and a lot of Zionists were like, "Oh, he was Jewish," and it's crazy. Like, I don't understand what the purpose of that was, but it blows my mind that nowadays anything can happen. Any story that takes place has to instantly correspond to whatever, like any story that takes place in the news that invites a little bit of scrutiny and invites a little bit of confusion and chaos is automatically utilized, weaponized by people, by political actors with whatever their goals are. They just go like back in the day when stuff like this used to happen, like when school shootings or mass shootings used to happen, Republicans every now and then would get things wrong, right? And then they realized that there is no penalties for getting things wrong, and you can just like directionally lie with no punishments whatsoever. As a matter of fact, people actually are excited when you lie in a way that like suits their propagandistic purposes. And now everybody does it. People of all different types of backgrounds do it. It's one of the most insane things I've ever seen. MIT nuclear scientist gets in the courtyard of his own apartment complex. And immediately I saw a shit ton of accounts being like, Jews are under attack. Notice how another Jewish scientist was, it's like, dude, where did you get that? Like, why would you even say that? Dude wasn't Jewish. He's Portuguese. Had nothing to do this had nothing to do with Judaism at all. And I saw a bunch of Zionist accounts being like, see, Jews are under attack again. I know Portuguese Jews, to be honest. Okay, but he wasn't one of them. What do you mean? Like, what the does that have to do with anything? Yeah, okay. There are Jewish people all around the world. Like, hello? We get it. You blast it off. I don't think you got it. I don't think you got it enough. Okay, fine. I'll retweet. Damn. Yeah, retweet that shit. Hey, man, can you do more in your off-stream hours so the personal news section can be the whole stream? That's unironically my favorite part. Please and thanks. You got it. Like, what do you think has a higher priority here? That he was an MIT nuclear scientist or whatever, like his religious background might have been, regardless, whether he was Jewish or not. Like, what are you talking about? It's so crazy. I do think it's safe. I do think it's safe to say, given the lack of information, there's at least a possibility it could be an anti-Semitic hate crime given his identity, but it doesn't mean it's automatically the case. It's just soon to say one way or another. No, he was Catholic. He's like that's what I saw from one of his. No, he's not. This is what I mean. This is what I'm talking about. Why the fuck did people, why did people instantly land on this thing for some reason? Like, that's all it is, though. That's all it takes is like for someone to be like, nah, he's Jewish, actually. That's why they killed him. And then immediately it just like flies all around. Why would people lie to me on the internet about that? That's what I mean. That's what I mean. Do you see what I'm saying, though? Do you understand? This was the point that I was making. This is exactly the point that I was making. The point that I was making is that, like, this kind of stuff actually has a real impact, even for people who are like tuned into shit, right? Like, Megaphonics is in here every day. Megaphonics is in here every day of the week. Like, I know we like to make jokes about Megaphonics in general, but you know, if you're in here every single day, you're probably a little bit more tuned into what's going on, and you see like information. You see how misinformation runs amok on the internet. Like, you're supposed to be a little bit more skeptical of these kinds of narratives. But nowadays, I feel like it's just it's whoever is first to market, you know? Whoever is first to market and is able to lean into conspiracy wins. And it's one of the craziest things it's one of the craziest things to like experience from afar. And I just don't understand it. Like, I think there is a lot of good in just taking a deep breath, taking a couple steps back, and just waiting for more information to come out. Okay? You made it sound like he couldn't be Jewish because he was Portuguese. No, I made it sound like he's not Jewish because he's not Jewish. What the hell is going on? I even said, yeah, sure, someone who's Portuguese could be Jewish. I mean, it's less likely, right? Statistically speaking, it's an incredibly small population of Portuguese Jews. Okay? But that's not the point regardless. The homicide investigation in Brookline comes across as, so an MIT professor was at his home and police launched an investigation. Okay? Yeah, he's not Jewish because he's Catholic. What is happening? There's two different metas, okay? Instantly people say the is a Muslim trans Antifa activist. And then now the inverse of it is every victim of a is also Jewish. Like, what the hell is happening? Reddit fact check on his claimed Jewish identity. What is this? For whatever it's worth, his Wikipedia says he's from a Sephardic Jewish family, but the third source listed claiming that he doesn't say anything about him being Jewish on the MIT page source of that claim. For now, given the timing of his murder and the peculiarity of the timing, I'm going to give the benefit of the doubt and leave his Wikipedia page along with other Yeshiva World source given by another commenter on this post. There's a good chance he's Jewish, we shall see. Is probably worth keeping an eye on. I saw one of the family friends or something saying he's not, okay? That he was Catholic. But once again, as I said already, like his Jewish background is not the major point of contention here. I feel like if he was, it most likely is not because he's Jewish, but because he was a nuclear scientist. Do you understand? In any case, a professor at Massachusetts Institute of Technology was at his home near Boston, and authorities said they had launched an investigation. Nuno F.G. Loureiro, a 47-year-old physicist and fusion scientist, was shot Monday night at his home in Brookline, Massachusetts. He died at a local hospital on Tuesday, the Norfolk District Attorney's Office said in a statement. The prosecutor's office said no suspects have been taken into custody as of Tuesday afternoon and that its investigation was ongoing. Loureiro, who joined MIT in 2016, was named last year to lead MIT's Plasma Science and Fusion Center, where he aimed to advance clean energy technology and other research. The center, one of the school's largest labs, had more than 250 people working across 7 buildings when he took the helm. Loureiro, who was married, grew up in Viseu in central Portugal and studied in Lisbon before earning a doctorate in London, according to MIT. He was a researcher at an institute for nuclear fusion in Lisbon before MIT, it said. Loureiro. He's shown a bright light as a mentor, a friend, a teacher, a colleague, and leader, and was universally admired for his articulate, compassionate manner. Dennis White, an engineering professor, previously led MIT's Plasma Science and Fusion Center, told a campus publication. The president of MIT, Sally Kornbluth, said in a statement that Loureiro's death was a shocking loss. The investigation in Brookline comes as police in Providence, Rhode Island, about 50 miles away, continue to search for the who 2 students and injured 9 others at Brown University on Saturday. FBI said it knew of no connection between the crimes. A 22-year-old student at Boston University who lives near Loureiro's apartment in Brookline told Boston Globe she heard 3 loud noises Monday evening and feared it was gunfire. I had never heard anything so loud, so I assumed they were Liv Shackner was quoted as saying, it's difficult to grasp, it just seems like it keeps happening. Some of Loureiro's students visited his home, an apartment in a 3-story brick building, Tuesday afternoon to pay their respects. The U.S. Ambassador to Portugal, John J. Arrigo, expressed his condolences in an online post that honored Loureiro for his leadership and contributions to science. It's not hyperbole to say MIT is where you go to find solutions to humanity's biggest problems, Loureiro said. When he was named to lead the Plasma Science Lab this year, fusion energy will change the course of history. So it's nutty that, like, normally under normal circumstances, the conspiracy theory here should be that it's like a big oil, right? Like, this is supposed to be a very competitive, potentially very competitive alternative energy platform that would most likely undermine the financial interests of big oil or something, right? Or you can make a conspiracy theory around, like, Israel and America are just like openly assassinating nuclear scientists, and they're celebrating such on the global stage. So then this could be like, I don't know, an Iranian retaliation or something. But the very fact that people instantly were like, well, it's because this is an anti-Semitic hate crime, that, like, and this was like the conversation, the speculation is supposed to be around other instances, but then they just turned the conversation back to, like, this being an anti-Semitic hate crime potentially. For context, I suspect people went with the he's Jewish narrative because he lived in Brookline, which is a large Jewish population. Like, I suspect that if he was, I feel like the higher priority for why, and this is all suspicion at this point, but the higher priority that invites the most amount of scrutiny would be from either, the big oil and gas industry or something, or potentially like a country with a competitive platform that has also a competitive platform that also has is trying to make waves in the similar industry or something. Do you see what I mean? Fusion is not a more cost-effective version of power production at the moment, primarily because that tech is, like, at the earliest 20 years away. If anyone would discover sustainable fusion, it would be China. Yeah, HasanAbi is not entertaining UFO talk this morning, it seems. I mean, I feel like in the field of conspiracy, there are what do you call it? Oh yeah, this was the friend that I saw, but sad to hear this is one of the friends, but I don't know how valid this is. Sad to hear of Nuno Loureiro's passing. He was already a leading plasma physicist of our generation with an exceptional scientific trajectory ahead of him, and a wit that those who knew him will never forget. Last time we spoke, he had a wife and 3 children who are no doubt in immense pain. Most people will never fully grasp how profound a loss this is, not just personally, but for science itself. For the record, Nuno Loureiro, that simply wasn't who he was, and he was not Jewish. Not all scientists are Jewish, and using the death of a deeply respected man to push. Like, I don't know. This wasn't what I saw. There was someone who was actually a friend of his. That I don't know where it is though. I need to find it. But someone who's a family friend that quoted on it. It's Nuno. This is the first time I heard he was Jewish. No, this was like all over big accounts. And I think J-Post also said that he was Jewish. And there was like I saw like a photo of a random building, potentially his building, that people were saying was his apartment complex, that said that had a Stand with Israel sticker on the window or something. Like, it just blew my mind that immediately they hit that line. Yeah, Stop Anti-Semitism posted about it for one, but many others did as well. But apparently there is like a film. There is a person by the same name who is it anti-Semitic to assume he's Jewish, or is pro-Israel people are very anti-Semitic? No, dude. His background and his religion in this regard is not the first thing that you should be instantly thinking about. He was a fucking nuclear scientist. That's my point. My point is his religious background is probably not the first thing that I would dial in on when I hear that a fucking MIT professor specifically working on new nuclear technology is most likely assassinated right outside of his home. That's my point. My point is, like, I don't understand that this is like this is how some people instantly took it. Regardless, I don't even know why we're having this conversation. But I thought everyone would be understanding of the point I'm making here. It's crazy because there is like very obviously, yeah, Laura Loomer. Before any facts are established, Laura Loomer and aligned pro-Israel accounts are already framing the Brown shooting and MIT professor killing yesterday as a coordinated attack on Jewish and pro-Israel figures. Do you see? Do you see what I'm saying? Like, do you see how fucking frustrating this shit is? Breaking. MIT professor of nuclear science and physics, Nuno Loureiro, was just shot and killed at his home in Brookline, Massachusetts on Monday evening. He's reportedly Jewish and pro-Israel. People say the shooter is on the run. The shooting comes after a shooter at Brown University opened fire in a classroom on Saturday where the professor who usually occupies the study room that was shot up is Jewish and pro-Israel. Like, even the Brown University shooting, oh yeah, the shooter didn't actually end up killing a Jewish professor, but he was probably trying to kill a Jewish pro-Israel professor. What the fuck is happening? They can't even do like conspiracy theories correctly at this point. Is someone ambushing elite universities on the East Coast trying to murder pro-Israel and Jewish professors during Hanukkah? Both shooters are on the run. Is it the same shooter? 27,000 likes. This is Israel Hayom, a right-wing Israeli outlet, states there is no indication that MIT professor was Jewish or pro-Israel despite claims by some commentators. Why was MIT nuclear scientist Nuno F.G. Loureiro shot dead? Why is this a thing? Like, what the fuck is going on? Does this not make you guys a little bit curious? Like, does this not invite a little bit of scrutiny as to why in situations like this, immediately people who are primarily invested in cutting propaganda that is seemingly favorable to Israel is like insta-locking this shit? Wait, is the reporting on the Brown professor being a Jewish professor misinfo? I hadn't realized yet. Obviously, the coverage on this nuclear science getting assassinated is a clear misdirection, in my opinion. He's only being reported as being Portuguese in Portuguese news for what it's worth. I hate that nowadays it is getting virtually impossible. It's getting more and more difficult to figure out and establish consensus reality because there are so many opportunists who instantly, on any issue where there isn't like a shit ton of facts, on any issue that invites a little bit of skepticism or a little bit of scrutiny or a little bit of curiosity, they insta-lock whatever whatever narrative is pertinent to their overarching propagandistic goals. Okay, immediately, people who are pro-Israel will say like, "Oh, this victim was Jewish and he was killed for being Jewish. Anti-Semitism is on the rise." Or people who are anti-Semitic will say, "Oh, he was killed for being Israeli, and he was like, at any moment now, he was going to actually take his Jewish research to Israel and give Israel the research, and then that's why he was assassinated." You know what I mean? Like, it's just fucking insane. Like, can we just wait and try to figure out and make a? Can we just wait and make an assessment after we figure out what the actual details are, especially in a situation like this where Israel is notorious for, you know, murdering fucking nuclear scientists openly and publicly and saying it's fucking fair game. It seems like the global rules on shit like this is changing dramatically. Okay. And my first inclination isn't that this guy was murdered for being Jewish in an anti-Semitic hate crime. My first inclination is that he was most likely murdered for the research that he was conducting in MIT in terms of nuclear fusion, in terms of the research that he was working on at MIT probably is the reason why he was assassinated, if he was fucking assassinated, you know? How is that? God. In any case, nuclear fusion is literally the biggest threat to oil oligarchs. I would believe he was killed for his research way more than being pro-Israel. Exactly. Especially because like there's no indication that he was at all. Like there's no evidence that he was at all, except for what Laura Loomer is claiming. But again, please, I invite everyone to scrutinize this kind of immediate narrative building, immediate world building in moments such as this one, because it will lead you astray, okay? To be fair, there's also no evidence that he was killed for being a nuclear scientist either. We're all conjecturing at this point. Okay, true. But don't you feel like there is a higher likelihood? Because there's no evidence of him being Jewish at all, but there is at least evidence of him being a nuclear scientist, right? Like, that's my point. We know he is a nuclear scientist. We don't know what his religious background is. And even if he was Jewish, don't you feel like there's a higher priority that he was a nuclear scientist? What is this? If you think he died for being a nuclear scientist, I'm sorry, you're stupid. If you think murdering a single scientist does anything, you're dumb. They don't get funding for storing ideas in their head. Their work is published, etc. What? Okay, well, tell that to fucking Israel, chatter, because they seemingly do keep popping nuclear scientists like it's Skittles, okay? Yeah, here's 9 scientists assassinated for assassinated for being Jewish. Oh, wait, that's not the case. Israel says it killed 9 Iranian nuclear scientists, embraces attacks from Iran. Anyway, this is the reason why I brought this up is because it's his capacity to push the field forward and make huge contributions that sets him apart. Exactly. If he's making individual progress on a specifically hard problem, absolutely he's the target of those hoping to interfere with that progress. Whatever chatter you just read is profoundly brain broken to think otherwise. Like, the ideas don't perish, obviously. But if you think that like especially when it comes to publicly available research, if you think that singular individuals are still not moving research in a specific direction in a way that like others can't, then there is no reason for research leads at all, right? Why do we even have research leads? Why are there leaders in individual scientists that we praise at all? It's just across the board, it's a collective. And there is truth to that, right? Obviously, it's a collection of all the previously available data that people work on, and it's the product of a team. But yes, in certain instances, the team leader could have a unique vision or unique insight, and that is the reason why they could, be assassinated, potentially. Okay? Not saying that he definitely was, but the investigation that has been launched into it is a homicide investigation. So, of course, given his background, it's like this, okay? Charlie Kirk was a political advocate. When he got killed, nobody thought, oh, this must be a crime of passion. Why did nobody think that this was Charlie Kirk's gay lover who shot and killed him, for example? Because he was fucking Charlie Kirk. If your job is being Charlie Kirk and you get shot, yeah, of course people are going to immediately go, kind of feels like this might have been a political assassination, okay? In any case, now that I even joked about it, people are going to be like, nah, it was a gay lover narrative, I think. I hope that I have your level of patience one day. I know. Well, you have to have a level of patience that is seemingly profound if you want to be able to explain certain basic concepts to, 20,000, 30,000 people. In any case, the like I said, the interesting part about this story is in my opinion, the suspicion of why, like, or the why is obviously not completely solved here. And also the other interesting part of it is, my job as a media critic, I obviously am going to be extra attentive about how quickly certain kinds of discourse spreads with or without any real tangible point of information. Okay. And that's it. I find that to be, I find that to be somewhat disturbing. And I find that to be very interesting. Might be some student he failed or something too. I don't know if that's super likely, even though statistically speaking, yes, you're more likely to be murdered by someone you know than not. But I guess in this situation, your job and your background and the research that you're conducting does play a role, I feel like. Anyway, now we are going to talk about the new enhanced videos of the Brown University shooting.